Three, two, one,
jingle! Happy time has just begun. Brother, sister, smart, dumb, fun. Yeah!
Oh, there it is. We are live on a Friday. That's right. Brothers, sisters are live. It's Friday night. Wait, we have to drop the overly long drop.
See, that's what happens when you let AI decide when the beat should drop.
That's right. The beat should drop much sooner. Anyway, welcome everybody. Welcome to our Friday night show. I am Janice/Jenny Brothers.
I am Ann Brothers.
And we are the Brothers Sisters, and we are live, the Brothers Sisters, Smart, Dumb, Fun. All right, I'm going to take out our fantastic music, and there you go. So here we are on a Friday night, and we are here on a Friday night because we've got special guests today. And we'll bring out our... I know. We have Michigan Storm Chasers with us. Michigan Storm Chasers. We will do all of our introductions in a minute, but this is a very exciting Friday night. And let's face it, you guys, you're not doing anything. You're not, you went out to the bar at like 5 o'clock and now you're home and ready for bed. But before you go to bed, you could hang out with the Brothers, Sisters, and Michigan Storm Chasers. So, so we're going to cut our normal stuff a little bit shorter, not too much shorter, but we're going to jump right into the slideshow today. And I'm going to get rid of our brand there. Oops, I got to get rid of our brand. There it goes. And okay, here we go. So, like I said, Michigan Storm Chasers is with us today, but we're going to go ahead and do our normal stuff. So if you are a first-time viewer of our show, there's some things that you should know about us. We are Ann and Janice Brothers. We are sisters. Therefore, the Brothers Sisters. Just super fortunate naming. Otherwise, we'd be like the Brothers. Nobody cares about that. We're the Brothers Sisters. We are in our 50s, and that means that we did not wear bike helmets until we were well into adulthood. Even though it turns out my husband should have worn his bike helmet when he was 13, because he actually fell off his bike when he was 13 and cracked his head open and literally died on the table. Did you knew that about Joe, didn't you?
I did. I know he has like a steel plate in his head. He's kind of deaf in one ear. And he, of course, at the time, who wore bicycle the only people that wore bicycle helmets were like professional bicycle riders, it's like
they weren't even real helmets. They were like those leather banded things that they wore around their heads. They weren't even a real helmet. So my husband fell off his bike when he was 13, and he fractured his skull and he flatlined on the table. They brought him back, and he's got like a ceramic plate on his right side over his ear. Can't really hear out of that ear. And he was like in his own little big helmet for, a number of months after. He couldn't go to school. He was that kid. He was the kid wearing the helmet. So the good news is he's fine now. He's totally fine. So anyway, like I said, we're in our 50s before. On our show, we normally talk about either smart stuff or dumb stuff or fun stuff or any combination of the three. I feel so cool today because we are talking about smart stuff today.
I know, smart stuff with people that are like half our age.
I know, smart people who are half our age. Hey, we've got comments already. Let's see what. So Julie Thompson says, "Hi, hey guys. Hi, Julie Thompson. We're going to bring our Storm Chasers on in just a minute. Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you. We just want you to know that." All right. So a little bit more about us. We are not cool or hip. We know this because we both carry emergency kits in our car, which includes paper maps and paper atlases and probably some sort of food that will keep us from starving to death in a blizzard. And it's usually something gross that you won't eat unless you're starving. Like for me, it's a bag of circus peanuts. Anne?
It's anything that doesn't have chocolate in it. Yeah.
Smart.
Yeah.
Smart move. We're not sexy podcasters. Please note what we just said in number 5, because we both have gross snacks in our car for when we get stranded in a blizzard. We are not a murder celebrity, or we are not an influencer podcast. We are also not a YouTube channel where you watch Asian kids eat stuff. So yeah. I was at school. Yeah, I was at school the other day, and we had about 4 minutes left in class. So I was like, all right, you guys, I'll give you 4 minutes of you time. And we use GoGuardian, to monitor the kids in their Chromebooks. And they're watching, like, this group of girls is like literally just watching Asian kids eat marshmallows and stuff. And I was like, what are you doing? They're like, oh, it's so satisfying. I'm like, What?
I don't think they know what the word satisfying means.
Yeah.
Maybe for the
So
kids
yeah, we
eating
don't
the
do that.
marshmallows.
Yeah. We do not. That's not what we do. So just so you know that. All right. So what else about us? We have been told that we are good to listen to. People tell us all the time what we are good when it's a good time to listen to our podcast. We've been told we're good to listen to if you are sick to death of political pundits and you just need a break from all the weird ass shit that is our current existence. Which leads us to number 9, which is this is not a G or PG or PG-13 podcast. We will work very hard, especially today because we've got company,
Right.
to be nice, and we won't swear, but we don't say anything like gross or disgusting. We just sometimes we'll drop an F-bomb or an S-bomb or a B-bomb. Julie, thank you. She likes us already. New follower for sure. High five. Yeah. Well, we are thrilled to have you with us, Julie. Thank you for coming on and joining us. We dig that. So we just, stay with us. We'll keep going. Let's see. You can find us on our new website. You can find us on Spotify, the YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram, even though we're still trying to figure out the Instagram. We would love it if you followed us, liked us, subscribed to us, and all that sort of good stuff. All right, that takes us to our next thing. So, like I said, every week that we do this, we try to talk about something smart, dumb, or fun that happened to us this week. And we're going to start with you. Something fun last night. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I had date night with Duncan. Duncan is my husband, and we went and saw the movie Poor Things with Emily Stone. Is that her name? Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Emma Stone.
Yeah, Emma Stone. And Willem Dafoe, Mark Ruffalo. Mark Ruffalo gives a award-winning performance. I mean, everybody does, but Mark Ruffalo, I'm used to him turning, giant and green and becoming a Hulk. He's not the type of guy you would think to be in this movie, and he's awesome. This movie is great. If you haven't seen it, it's kind of Frankenstein's monster meets the hero's journey. It is such a good, exciting, funny, weird movie. And then we went and had dinner at Knights Inn, which is kind of a fancy place here in Ann Arbor. The only reason we went is because we had a gift certificate. And the only reason we would go back is if we had a gift certificate. So, Jenny, we can't hear you. I'm sorry, Jenny. We can't. Oh, no, my sister can't be heard. I'm not sure what's going on.
You still can't hear me?
Oh, there you are. You're back.
Okay, good. I was panicking for a minute. I'm like, no. All right, that's okay. Well, that sounds like fun.
It was fun.
Yeah, and that's why gift certificates are awesome. So,
Mhm.
It dawned on me that I rarely post smart things on this part of the show. I usually do something dumb, and I was like, this week for sure, I'm gonna post something fun. But then my husband Joe showed me the trailer for the new Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal, and it all went out the window from there. So of course, Joe and I then had to do a compare and contrast where we watched the old trailer of the old Roadhouse from 1989 with Patrick Swayze, which is my number one guilty pleasure movie. And I got to tell you, look at this. Look at these two pictures. There's no comparison. Look at Patrick Swayze's hair. He's not even trying to look cool. He is just cooler. And let me just say that if you go back to the trailers from the 80s and you look at them, this movie is so stereotypical 80s trailer. It's just brilliant. I love it so much. So anyway, comparing and contrasting, my dumb thing was the trailers for Roadhouse. And I took time out of my life that I'll never get back and watched both of these and sort of did a compare and contrast and then went back and watched them both again by myself.
Now I'm going to have to watch both trailers, even though I think the 1989 version of Roadhouse is one of the most terrible movies I have ever seen. It is not one of my guilty pleasure movies. I was like, this is terrible. So yeah.
I'm not going to lie. It's a terrible movie, but that's why guilty pleasure movies are the greatest thing ever.
Exactly.
So, all right. So anyway, we got all of our old business out of the way. We got our dumb stuff. We got our fun stuff. If you've never watched this before, you know a little something about who we are. So now let's get our guests in here, the Michigan Storm Chasers, everything you have ever wanted to know about Michigan Storm Chasers, but we're afraid to ask. So let's bring them in. We've got a whole bunch of them with us. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that. I'm going to bring in our Storm Chasers. We've got Joel, we've got Nick, and we have Ryan from Michigan Storm Chasers. Hi, guys.
Hi. Hello.
Good evening.
And let me just say again, first, just thank you so much for coming on the show and coming and hanging out with us. And secondly, just really glad you're here, and we're going to ask you guys a bunch of questions, and hopefully that's okay with you. And so the way this works, I'm just going to throw some questions up on the screen. If you're with us and you're viewing live, feel free to add your own questions in the comments. I'll probably have a quick look at those before we put them on, but definitely would like to get some questions out there for our audience.
Sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but is Chandler and Alex in there as well?
I do not see. Oh, wait. I see him. Okay. Oh, you can scroll. Okay. There's Chandler and there's Alex. Fantastic. Thank you, guys. Right on.
Hello.
All right. So, again, for Chandler and Alex, I'm Jenny / Janice, and this is Anne. And
hey guys,
we're the brother sisters. So let's go ahead. I'm going to start with this question right here. Question number 1. What should we know about Michigan Storm Chasers?
Who wants to take that one?
Ryan, take it away, buddy.
You got it, Ryan.
All right. Put me on the spot early. I see how it is. All right. We are a group of individuals that have and share a passion for weather, storms, chasing, and also public service, so to speak, educating the public and making sure they're informed. We started 2022, I believe, late in the fall season, and we really started ramping up into 2023 spring, and from there it's just skyrocketed in both numbers, success, and the overall mission has played out just as we wanted it to.
That's fantastic. How many followers do you have right now?
Currently on Facebook, we are closing in on 88,000 followers, but we also have other social platforms, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. All combined, we have roughly 93 or so thousand.
Okay, that's fantastic. Now, are those when it comes to your followers, are those mostly Michigan followers, or do you have followers from other states as well?
Those followers are primarily based out of Michigan. I think last time I looked at our statistics, I want to say 97% of our following was based in Michigan. And then the other 3% was Ohio, Indiana, and then various across the country from California. We even have some followers from out of country, Canada. We have some from Germany. I believe we have Nigeria on there. So nice. Majority, yes, Michigan.
Okay. Nigeria. You guys are international. That's amazing.
I know. Didn't expect to see that.
That is fantastic. All right. So our next question. And again, this is anybody that wants to take these. And I guess my question is, what is your why? So you know, why is it you wanted to start this? What is it that you would hope to accomplish for this?
I can start, and I don't know if you guys want to build off what I'm going to say here, but for me personally, I think we all have our own reasons of why we kind of joined and started working with it. But for me personally, I've noticed that there is quite a big gap of communication between, you can say, the National Weather Service, broadcast meteorologists, just in general, how they communicate. Not everybody, I'm going to put that out there, not everybody, but most often people get confused very easily with the weather, what to expect, because it can change so quickly, and there's so many things that can happen with each individual setup. So part of the reason why I wanted to make MSC and build it the way it has been was one, bridge that gap of communication that I felt that needed to be bridged, but also I noticed there's a large rise in misinformation on social media of, we'll say, hype, clickbait, stuff like that. And I didn't want that to be Michigan Storm Chasers. I wanted to give an honest approach to the weather without having all the clickbait thumbnails or, the hype forecast, stuff like that. And also the third is nobody in Michigan, to my knowledge, does what we do. When we have somebody at home base streaming radar updates, keeping an eye on things across the state, while we have 4 other guys plus our partner network who's out live chasing, so people can get a real look at the storm. They don't have somebody in front of the TV looking at radar. They have a live view of the storm, which can actually aid in the warning process and actually help people visually connect it and say, "Oh, I gotta take shelter. That's coming towards me." But those are my three main reasons why Michigan Storm Chasers, why I personally wanted to begin it or start it. And if any of the guys want to join off on that, they're welcome to.
I would just say that that's a really good way to phrase it. You know, we're not here to take the place of the National Weather Service. We're not here to take the place of the news, right? You know, the news is still a very trustworthy place to get your local weather information, and so is the National Weather Service. But, you know, when there's a certain storm going through a certain area, the news can't just break in because it's thunderstorming outside, right? So our job now is to bridge that, you know, like Ryan said, bridge that communication gap first and foremost, but also bridge that educational gap and keep people protected. Our mission statement is to have people covered from beginning to end. And, you know, we take that personally with almost every single event and showing of inclement weather that there is.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I love that.
This is Alex. Can you hear me?
Oh yeah,
Yes, I
we
sure
can
can.
Cool. No, I just wanted to kind of touch off that. And because a lot of the times when we get severe weather events, you know, from the Weather Service perspective or from the news agency's perspective, news media, they can only update so often too. And so when the, you know, with weather changing so often, you know, we kind of fill that gap, that middle ground, where if you have a news update at noon and severe weather is expected, let's say at 6, and they can't update again until 5, at Michigan Storm Chasers, we're here at 1, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon to keep you updated on that changing weather. Compared to, you know, years ago when you had to sit and wait, and if something changed, you didn't know until, you know, maybe it was too late for some people. And kind of like Ryan touched off of, we have one person usually that is at home base with the rest of us out chasing, plus our partner networks. And we know for a fact, we've seen it before in other severe weather events where people will react quicker, and they'll know the danger is real when they actually see something live on their cameras in their hometowns or near their hometowns, compared to just a radar map and the TV meteorologist saying take cover. And so that's what we try to do to try and keep everybody safe, like Chandler said, from beginning to end.
Sure. And I think a great example of that was during the Williamston tornadoes this summer. I think that was a really great example of what you just said, Alex. Awesome. All right, Andy, you want the next question here?
Sure. How did you come to this? I mean, how do you know each other? How did this all come together?
I can answer that one.
Okay.
We've actually had a group chat on Twitter since like, I don't know, mid 2018 for all like storm chasers and TV meteorologists around the state. And Nick is actually one of my really good friends. Him and I have known each other for over 15 years now. And I brought him on board as a, you know, just buddy. Hey, come out storm chasing sometime. And, you know, he really liked it and got hooked. And Ryan and I talked about, you know, making something like this. And I know Alex and Ryan had talked about something like this. And it all just kind of fell into place. Like, that sounds so cliche, right? But, you know, we all kind of talked and it all really just kind of fell into place. You want to do this? Yeah, let's do this. And then we were off and running. And once we got started, we never really looked back.
Fantastic.
So you talked about how you have one person at home base and then the other people are out, and then you have a larger network. Who makes up your larger network?
So that's all people who we have contracted to be storm chasers for us. So what that means is they're going to be out doing their storm chasing and everything. But if they have any content or if they have any reports to send us right away, they're one of our partner chasers. So they're spreading information back to us, which we are then in turn putting back out on our page. It can be anywhere in the state too. We have, I think, over 20 or 25 now, you know, other storm chasers who are working for us. And I hate saying working for us. That's why I put it in quotes, because they're not really working for us, right? But they're out all over the state, and we're kind of heading up all that information while we're out storm chasing ourselves.
Okay, thank you.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So do you guys have any what are your backgrounds in terms of meteorology? How did you come to this?
I can take that one. So I am the closest one, I think, to a meteorology degree right now. I'm currently at Central Michigan.
I have a semester and a half left to go towards my meteorology degree, and I'm also working in a degree in GIS, which is like mapping and stuff. So the two degrees kind of go hand in hand.
Definitely.
Yeah, but so I'm the closest to getting a meteorology degree. I know, Alex, you went to Central for a while too, right?
Yep. So I studied meteorology at Central Michigan, like Joel did, for just under 2.5 years before the math got too much for me, at least. You have to go through differential equations, calculus 4, along with a lot of physics and chemistry.
Dynamics.
Yeah.
PTSD right there.
Yeah. And so I actually transferred out back home to Western Michigan to get my degree in communications. But again, I have that 2.5 years of studying meteorology at Central under my belt, as well as I've been storm chasing since 2006 here in Michigan.
Fantastic. So Alex, are you here in Kalamazoo then?
Yes.
All right, cool. We're probably neighbors and we don't even know it.
I went to school for meteorology for a year and a half before I dropped out, mostly because of the cost of tuition. Like, school I wanted to go to was up to $65,000 a year, and I just didn't see the value there in that investment. And I've learned so much storm chasing now for 10 years, really since I could drive. And I've done so many online courses to learn like the inner mechanisms of like how a SKU-T works, which is something that we read to look at severe thunderstorms, and you learn so much information from that. And diving deep into more of the meteorology side of things versus the mathematical side of things, there's so many courses out there that you can take and learn how to, not necessarily predict these things, but understand the data that you're looking at and be a very well-rounded storm chaser who can develop forecasting skills. And Nick has worked on that with me for a while. He does a great job. He knows his stuff as well. Ryan, I'll let you talk about your own background.
In terms of meteorology, like official classes, I have not taken meteorology. However, as Chandler just mentioned, online, there is quite a bit of information out there provided from NWS, there's a couple groups as well. Tornado Titans has a good curriculum out there. But in terms of meteorology versus online studying, meteorology, there's a lot of fluff, so to speak, you have to go through to get the degree, and it's all useful to the degree. But if you want just like the forecasting basics and the meteorology that goes into severe weather, you can say there's a way to fast track that via online, which is what I've mainly done. I've been, ever since I want to say 17 or 18, I've just been zoned in on these classes, online videos. There's a good course online from a guy named Rich Thompson who works for the Storm Prediction Center. He had like an 8-hour plus class, just overall self-studying and learning it the best I could. That's my experience in it.
One of the great things in this day and age about just open source, there really is just a ton of information out there. So that's fantastic. So I'd say you guys have definitely put in your hours. That's for sure.
Yeah, I just ask them everything. They just teach me everything.
That's all right. That works. All right. And you want this next question?
Sure. What do you like best about this?
I'll start. I think
Okay.
you'll have something to say about this. In
Right.
terms of storm chasing and Michigan storm chasers, for me, I love the aspect of seeing a storm. I love lightning at night. But in terms of the actual side of Michigan storm chasers, I think at the end of the day, it's not about numbers. It's not about glory, fame. It's not about the actual part of chasing. It's about being able to help your neighbor, because there are people in this state who have major severe anxiety when it comes to these storms, and being able to be knowledgeable and share that knowledge and say, hey, you're going to be okay. We'll get through this. For me, that personally hits home for me, because growing up, I was always the one who would hide in my bed. When I was a kid, I'd cry for my mom anytime a storm would come through. I hated lightning. I hated thunder. So I kind of understand the aspect of storm anxiety. So being a part of Michigan Storm Chasers and being able to help the public in terms of also being prepared, educated, but also at the aspect of saying, hey, we're going to be okay. We're going to get through this. So that's what it is for me.
It's awesome. I would say, Ryan, it's so funny because I've always been fascinated by the weather, but my love of weather was born from the fear of weather, for sure. I can completely relate to that anxiety when I was young about storms, and and part of it was that was one of my first memories was being in a tornado when Ann and I, when we were kids back at the farmhouse back in the day. I do remember, just that moment of, I was very young, but still have that memory tucked away somewhere. So. That's great.
Right.
Anybody else on that question?
I have something to say, but go ahead, Joel.
I was going to say, I just like hanging out with a great group of guys, guys who know what they're doing, guys who know how to forecast and stuff like that. And then like, if anyone's ever like busy, then one of us can like help pick up the slack for them. And usually that happens when we are storm chasing. Like some days, these guys here mainly all have part or full-time jobs. And so not often they can get on every day when there's severe weather. And so usually like I'll step in away from my classes and stuff like that, and I'll jump on, or if I'm at class, and they'll do the exact same thing for me or any of the other guys. So that's what I like most about that, is that we're always filling the gaps when needed.
Cool.
Yeah, for me, the thing that I like the most is the differences in people's lives that we're making, whether we know about them or not. We've been very fortunate. We've done 2 meetups with some younger people. We just did one with a 12-year-old, and I did one last fall with a 8-year-old, maybe 9. I don't remember how old he was, but it's a meetup like that changes the course of somebody's life, right? They meet us as a kid, they go, oh my goodness, that was so cool. Now all I can think about is weather. So now all of a sudden they're working towards math and science in high school, doing the extra classes and going into a STEM field and pursuing it in college, right? And not even stuff like that, but while we're live streaming, when we had those tornadoes going last year, we had over 6,000 people watching our live stream. And if we just helped 1 or 2 of those people not get in harm's way, or maybe take shelter when something was coming, or even check on loved ones, right? After all that went through, those differences that we're making, whether we know about them or not, that's really what drives it for me.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'd have to agree with all these guys. Definitely seeing the changes, that we make in people, not just from behind the scenes when we're chasing or making forecasts, but from what we've seen so far. Like Chandler said, the 12-year-old girl, we were able to see how she sees storm chasing as a young girl growing up. How Chandler saw with the 8-year-old boy the year before. When we go to libraries and do talks, to see the crowds get excited and interested in weather. To the parades we went to last year, seeing people excited to see us, as we're walking by, and I'm a little older than these guys, not as old, not too terribly older, but 33. So I remember as a young kid, seeing Twister in the movie theaters. And that's kind of what, solidified me as a 7-year-old. I was just sitting there in the movie theater with my parents, just blown away by that movie. And a lot of kids in the late 90s were blown away by that movie. And it kind of increased overall in the country, the interest in severe weather and storm chasing in general. As you move on years and years later, it kind of, in the mid to late 2000s, kind of dwindled down a little bit, where we're starting to see a little bit of resurgence on social media and across the country again with meteorology and severe weather. And the more people we can get into those STEM type fields and meteorology fields, the better, just for education and for awareness across the country.
Well, and I think what you guys are doing is something that everybody can relate to. We all are affected by the weather. It's usually the first thing we check in the morning. It's something we check throughout the day. So it's the start of a conversation. Hey, how about that storm? Or hey, how was your drive because of the ice? So I think this is really cool that you can bring so many people together over this one thing, and everybody has a story about the weather, and how it affected them. So. Thanks. This is really interesting.
I love this. All right. Question number 6. Okay. So we just talked about the things that you love about doing this. What is the hardest thing about doing this?
Being wrong.
Setting up in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
Well, definitely, I'll go first. The wrong thing, definitely. I would say not just being wrong, especially when we are in that life-saving mode, but Some of us have gone through this individually. We haven't necessarily gone through this yet as a group, and I'm glad we haven't. I know Joel probably is the closest to us, at least in our group, that has gone through this, because he was near the Williamston tornado last year. But the hardest thing that us to probably go through, and something that we're trying to continually prepare for, is a major event, a major wind event, tornado event in Michigan that causes either loss of life or significant damage, property damage, that we have to help with. And part of going from that forecasting mode to the life-saving mode is definitely the hardest thing that I think we got to kind of keep in the back of our minds every time we're streaming, every time we're chasing and forecasting, because that's the dark side to this, is the fact that storms cause tragedy.
They do indeed.
Well, and I think that's interesting. You use the word forecast. That's what it is. It's a forecast. It's not. You are using the best information you can get to make a prediction, but it's never going to be 100% correct. And that's that's one of the reasons why weather is such a complicated thing, and why there's so much math and physics involved, because it is, it has this common, feels so common, but it's such a chaotic thing that it's impossible to always be right. It's just there's too many variables. So you do the best you can.
Echoing off that, one of the harder things in this field is also getting a forecast wrong, as Chandler first shouted out there. Mm-hmm. Because when you have 88,000 people who follow your page, mm-hmm. they're anywhere from Detroit to Flint to Saginaw to Gaylord, up in the Marquette area, all the way over to Kalamazoo, Grand Rapids. Mm-hmm. They're everywhere. They're not just in the affected areas. So being able to properly communicate and also communicate the threats. Because, for example, back on August 24th, the day of the Williamston tornado, the forecast we posted that day was actually fairly strongly worded. And honestly, it having, like, if I could go back there and redo it, it probably would have been a little bit more strongly worded. But that's the nature of this, as you said, because it's so hard to predict these events to the T for the entire population of Michigan. So a lot of the harder things in this is also getting the feedback from people, hey, you got this wrong, getting the negative feedback that people are going to, it comes with the job, right. And that's one of the harder things to do and also to deal with, is the feedback, and also just owning up to, hey, the forecast was wrong. At least you're prepared for the worst. Okay. That's what we'd rather have you prepared than underprepared. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people don't understand that.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
100%. I can remember your forecasts on that day, and I remember you were. I thought the language you guys were using that particular day was spot on, and it was one of those days where the air felt like it was ready to explode. So, it was just one of those days for sure. But I think one of the things that you just talked about, and I have I do like to read the comments about stuff with weather that comes through, and people can be really harsh, but I think it's really easy to oversimplify the weather and what's happened. If people really understood, the models in the atmosphere, what's happening at each level of the atmosphere, they would think differently about what this is. So, So yeah, even though being wrong is a tough thing, I think you guys are right a lot of the time too. So
I was going to add on to that briefly.
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say another thing with the forecasting is obviously Lake Michigan and the other Great Lakes surrounding it. That makes it a little difficult. But in terms of chasing, the hardest thing I think is in Michigan, there's a lot of river valleys, a lot of trees. And so sight lines when actually going to spot storms is tough. Like when the Perry tornado hit 2 weeks before the Williamston tornado, I had a view on it, and then I lost it because there was hills and trees. So again, Michigan, it's not the plains by any means. But we chase with what we got and what we can do. And I know I just got a drone this year, so hopefully that'll reduce the sightline thing.
Julie Thompson has a comment. She said, even when you guys are spot on, you still get some negative feedback. Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yep,
There is no
comes with the
pleasing
territory.
everybody, and there never will be.
Very true.
That is a very true statement. All right, so Anne, you want this question?
Yeah. What's your favorite weather? What do you look for? You know, I prefer sunny days. So
I love a good thunderstorm. But if there's a snowstorm outside, I love it even more.
Mm.
As long as I'm home, not driving in it.
Yeah, I'd say it varies
Yeah.
by season for me.
Yeah.
Snow in the winter, but ultimately my favorite thunderstorm is actually favorite weather is a severe thunderstorm. So I'll take those any day. Obviously, we don't wish for anyone to get hurt or harmed in any of this, but it is always a little exciting to see strong thunderstorms out there.
Personally, I would take a rainy night with good lightning show. That's my heaven right there.
Yeah, some of my best memories as a kid, we had a covered front porch, was to be out at night and just watch the lightning in the distance.
I think some of my favorite weather. I am a avid winter sports lover, so I do love a good cold shot and about 30 inches of snow. I do really enjoy that. But for me, my favorite weather when there's not a tornado ongoing and I'm in the plains somewhere, or it's in Michigan, not doing damage anywhere, like a 68 to 72 degree, like duskish kind of night. Think like 8:30 p.m. in the summertime, just starting to cool down, or early summer, I should say, starting to cool down. That's like my favorite time.
Sweet. We have the Joe Peters with us. Joe Peters likes him some thunder snow. Yes.
Yes.
Love it.
Joe is actually my husband. He always watches our shows and gives us feedback. But I'm going to tell you our thunder snow story is that he used to work for a place in Wisconsin that was an outdoor adventure center. And they also had like a little ice cream shop within their little adventure center. And they made themselves like a little blizzard treat that they were trying to sell. And they were looking for names for this blizzard treat, but they couldn't use the blizzard. So, of course, I suggested thunder snow. And they didn't use it. They didn't like it. And I was like, really? Come on, man. Thunder snow. It's just waiting to be an ice cream treat. Sorry, I get worked up. Okay, I'm going to.
You can't be giving away those
All right,
$1 million
anyway.
ideas.
I know, right? Sheesh. All I know is that somebody please make me a thunder snow so I can eat it.
Our new merch line coming soon.
Thank you. Oh, we're going to talk about your merch. And if you guys come up with the thunder snow, I will buy it. Okay.
Noted.
All right. So question 8. So, all right. We talked about the weather that you like. What's the coolest weather that you have ever actually encountered?
That'd be my first tornado with Chandler. It's hard to top that one.
Why? Why was it so cool, Nick? Tell why. I
didn't have to drive.
Yeah, fair. I was driving. See, do you remember what the storms did? Why it was so unique?
Because it wasn't supposed to happen that day.
Right.
Basically.
So we were. I'll do your story for you.
Okay.
So we
You know it better than I do.
Yeah, we were out in Oklahoma. This was in 2017 or 2018 actually, and it was kind of like we had been out there for a couple days. We had seen some really great storms. We missed a tornado the day before because I didn't want to drive in the rain wrapped storm. I was like, I'm out on that, and so we sat and we watched these storms just like go in a train over the same area. We did not move for like 3 hours, just one supercell after another. Finally, one of them rode the boundary and planted, and then the other one came into it. And when those two merged, it became a right mover instead of kind of like instead of a northeast track. It started to take a due east or almost southeast type track. And 15 minutes later,
That's
tornado
weird.
on the ground.
Yeah,
And-
you don't see them
and
moving very often. Oof.
No, and it was just so cool because like I said, we literally didn't have to move. We sat there for 3 hours, watched storm after storm after storm, and finally, like on the 5th or 6th storm, they merged, and I was like, I think we're gonna have a tornado. And then, sure enough, within the next 15 minutes, we were within a quarter mile of a tornado.
Yeah,
Well
we were
done.
pretty excited. I just
that's
remember the
cool.
excitement.
That's what you got Chandler for. He's the details guy. Gotcha.
Right. The level-headed one.
You can tell which one of us is the salesman and the other one is the electrician.
Yeah, but you gotta have both. So there you go. So
Mhm.
anybody else, your coolest weather event?
I go ahead and share mine. Back in 2019, it was in Indiana near a town called Bourbon, Northwest Indiana. It was at night, and the storm had a bit of rotation on radar, so we're kind of excited, hoping it would drop something. It was like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night, and we got out ahead of the storm. It was a pretty slow moving storm, so we got out ahead of it, moving at us, pulled off on a dirt road, got out of the car, wait for lightning to light up the sky. Huge shelf cloud, really structure worthy, picture worthy storm. But as the storm got closer and closer to us, there was a sound that sounded like the Indy 500. And I couldn't explain it to you if I tried my hardest. I'll just say it sounded like the Indy 500. It turns out the storm was actually producing a large amount of hail, and that hail was hitting the ground with such force that it was creating like this echoing type of motor noise. And I'll never forget that night because I was standing on the side of the road. I have never been afraid of a severe storm, but I stood on that side of the road. And I was just like humbled, like intimidated by the storm coming at me. I had no idea what it was at the time. I just stood there and just stared at the abyss and darkness, like, what is this? So that was my most coolest weather event, but also something that kind of humbled me as well. I'll never forget that night.
That's scary.
That's cool.
Yeah, that is really cool.
Alex, do you want to go? Or do you want me to go?
I can go. I guess I have. Guess I'm tied. The first I would say was my very first chase out of the state of Michigan in Oklahoma. It was May 10th, 2010. It was a high risk day, and it was one of those that my buddy of mine and I decided to just on a whim go. We saw the forecast the day before, and it was a good enough risk that at about 6 p.m. the night before, we're like, okay, let's go. So we got in the car, me and him, and started driving, drove all night, and took turns driving, and we got into just south of Kansas City the next morning when it became a high-risk day in Oklahoma, which are, high risk days are, the highest level that the Storm Prediction Center gives out in Oklahoma. That just means it's a bad day coming. And it was funny because when we were going in through Kansas, in through the morning, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning, it was foggy. It was like 50 degrees and foggy, misty. And we're just starting to think like, did we make a mistake driving all this way for fog, mist, rain, and 50 degrees? And we crossed from Kansas into Oklahoma, and it was like flipping a switch from fog, mist, 50 degrees to sunshine, 75, and the strong, strong winds. And we got into northern Oklahoma near Bartlesville and stopped. And this was a little afternoon, and we both just took a power nap. We're like, we got to take like a nap or something like that, or else we're going to be dead here. So we took about a 2-hour nap, and we got woken up to our phones going off to a tornado watch that had just gone out. And so we drove southwest of Bartlesville to this small town called Winona, and parked outside of town, and we were just waiting to seeing these storms starting to explode off to the south and west. And this is back to the time before, smartphones became really, really popular. And in Oklahoma, there's not that much signal anyway. So we were kind of stuck, and it must have been just sheer luck that as we were sitting there, a volunteer firefighter for the little village of Winona came up following behind us, and in his best Oklahoma accent said, "Y'all storm chasers?" And we're like, "Yeah." "Well, follow me." And we're like, just kids from Michigan. Okay. So we followed them, drove about 1.5 miles away as we got into this field and where you could see for miles. And this huge, beautiful supercell thunderstorm was just in plain view. And about 1.5 miles, about almost 2 miles away, you could see this cylindrical, cone funnel come out down out of the ground or out of the sky towards the ground, and was just as picturesque as you could see. And that was my first ever tornado in Oklahoma that I saw. And I would say the second would be tied with that would be with Chandler last year in eastern Iowa and western Illinois. We saw a pretty decent tornado there in west central Illinois. Me and him did. So
Exciting.
Super exciting.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
Yeah, just me. I have three
Hold on,
really.
I got one too, Joel. No, I was
Okay.
telling Nick's story, not my own. You can go. I
Okay.
got one.
That's
Hey,
fine.
don't move
That's
on
fair.
until Chandler gets to tell a story. Noted.
Yeah. I have three really quick, short ones. They're all like milestones for me, basically. First one, 2020, April 2020. I think some of the guys here were on it. That's when we had like the 2-inch hail in Plainwell. I still have the dents on my car to show for that. Surprisingly, my windshield held up. It was surprising. If it probably would have been a 1/4 inch larger, it'd probably be some cracks in it. So that's special to me because it was the largest hailstone I've ever encountered. The second one is first tornado with Ryan here in the chat. We went down to the Indiana, Ohio area near Plymouth, or I don't remember the town name exactly.
Jay County.
Jay County.
I
Yeah.
forgot Bryant, Indiana.
Yep. That was my first tornado. It was actually an EF2, so it was somewhat on the stronger side of things. So kind of mid-range tornado in terms of strength. And then the third one is lightning. I got a lightning pole got struck right next to me when I was chasing, and I remember screaming into our walkie-talkie at the time. And probably go back and I know the guys here probably have it saved on their phone somewhere, but that was May of 2020 in Illinois. It was literally like 10 feet off to my right, and on my personal YouTube channel, I have a video of it. So, yeah.
It's actually really funny that Joel brought those up because like the coolest one I've ever had is the biggest tornado I ever saw, the Golden City, Missouri tornado in 2019. My buddy Eddie and I were out, and we were thinking about heading back. We were like, man, we got to work the day after tomorrow. A storm forecast looks okay. It was like a I think it was just a marginal risk at the time. And then the midday update came out and it went to slight, and we were like, okay, we'll stay. And then the afternoon update came out and it went to enhanced with like 10% tornado properties. And we were like, okay, well, we're glad we stayed. We got on one tornado at about 6 o'clock. What went with that for about 10, 15 miles, got good pictures. It was a small one, EF0. Picturesque though, great chase. And then we jumped ship to another giant supercell, which ended up putting down a long track EF3 tornado. Unfortunately, there was loss of life with that. But we sat in the same spot for probably an hour just watching this wall cloud coming, and then this giant wedge tornado passing us, and we saw about probably 40 to 45 minutes of its lifespan, and that was really cool to witness. A little scary at night, but it is what it is. And then I was going to talk about Joel's hail on his car. So that storm, we had like probably 10 to 12 of us all kind of in a row just chasing. Like a lot of the West Michigan chasers were out, and we all have like a walkie-talkie app on our phone, so we're not just texting each other while we're driving. And it was so funny because we were sitting there, we knew the storm had hail in it, and you just hear Joel come over the walkie-talkie, just, hey guys, thunk, 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 thunk. We got hail, just screaming into the walkie-talkie. Hilarious. We were all laughing, and I was tell that, but so funny. So,
Same with the lightning.
Nice.
Yeah,
I live in.
I was gonna say I was just
in
right
the
in front
Denver
of Joel
area.
when that happened, and I saw it in my rear view, and I was like, "Whoa!" And then Joel's on the mic. He's like, "That was right by my car." it was good.
That is awesome. Yeah, the first time you experience large hail, it is unnerving. I lived in Denver for a number of years, and every year in Denver, it's not a matter of if you'll encounter a ridiculous hailstorm. It's just when. It's literally every summer, and you either miss it or you get hit by it. It's just dumb luck either way. So, hey, we're just gonna give a quick shout out. We have Dan Wilson with us from Mexico. He is just saying the show rocks. Got it here in Mexico.
Uncle
And
Danny!
I realize we
That's my husband's
International.
uncle.
Uncle Danny!
Dan Wilson.
Sorry.
Right on, Dan. Right on. We are international. Nice.
We're international. There you go, folks.
That's awesome. Those are great stories, you guys.
Yeah,
and the
thank
thing is, I
you.
think you can literally talk to just about anybody, and they will have they will have a story as well that they can talk about, a great weather story. And do you have one?
Oh, sure, but I would like to listen to more of their stories than rehash some of my weather nightmares. So
Your weather glory. I understand. Well, hey, let's talk about this because I have a question for you guys. And one of the things I love about Michigan Storm Chasers is that you guys provide amazing data and awesome models. And I'd love to know more about where you guys, where do you get these models? Where do they come from? Do you generate them? Does the National Weather Service generate them? Must know more.
Either Ryan or Alex. They're the ones who look at it.
So
Alex, you want-
I can go.
ahead.
So a lot of our models we get that we share are public. We get them from websites. There's a couple of websites we pay for as a team. Our weathermodels.com is one that we get a lot of our data from. That's a paid site. But the data itself is generated by supercomputers that is run by either the National Weather Service if they're American models, or if it's European models, they're run by individual countries rather. So, yeah, it's awesome data that we're able to share with you guys and interpret, and thank you that you guys think it's interesting too.
Yeah, I love it. That's one of my favorite things for sure. I'm just going to interrupt you real quick and just take a moment to acknowledge Chandler's cat.
That's Mr. Oscar. He's very famous on our page. There's some viewers who have an entire intensity scale based on how many Oscars a storm system is going to possess.
I was trying to explain the model
million.
stuff, and all I can see here is Chandler messing with the cat, and I'm just like, man.
He tried to get away from me really hard, but
He's
I was not going to let that happen.
he's your producer.
Oh,
there you go.
There's the new merch line right there.
Yeah.
I was going to add on to what Alex said a little bit too. We do have a page on our website. If you do go to MichiganStormChasers.com, there's a tab there that says Weather Resources, and I believe we have all of our weather model sites on that website page listed. So someone could click that and go through them and kind of see where we find them too, if they wanted to.
okay.
Excellent.
That is awesome. Now we are at about the 52-minute mark, so I'm going to kind of jump ahead here. I want to make sure we get to our last most important two questions. But before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and jump to question 11, which is, what can someone do to get involved with Michigan Storm Chasers?
There is so much somebody can do. They can message us on Facebook, message us on Instagram, message us on Twitter. Obviously, following us on all of those places is huge. You can send us a letter to our P.O. box. We check our P.O. box every day. We're always looking for people to send us letters. There's a tab on our website where you can send us reports. You can message us reports on Facebook. You can subscribe to our Patreon. You can subscribe to our Facebook. You can buy our merchandise. There's so many things that people can do. And that doesn't even begin to touch with like advertising or even like jumping on and being a chaser partner, right? There's so many different ways that people can get involved with us.
Yeah, so if you're looking at the screen right now, folks, for viewers, I just threw up a bunch of stuff on the screen. This is how you can find Storm Chasers. Again, they have their webpage. We have the URL right there. And we will go ahead and post these things on Facebook to make sure that you have these resources if you want to learn more about them. The webpage, they're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram. I don't have your Twitter or your TikTok on there yet. And again, they do have a snail mail address, that P.O. Box 419 in Edwardsburg, Michigan. So if you're interested in being able to contact him, there you go. There's a bunch of resources right there. We've got a little commentary here. Julie Thompson said to subscribe as well. It is so worth it. I would agree, Julie. It is absolutely worth it. And that's one of the things I'll talk about here in just a second. But I wanted to go ahead and get those resources on because Chandler was talking about those. I thought it was a good time for that. So very cool. So yeah, there's lots of different ways that you can get involved, and I think that's awesome. I also love the fact that one of the ways that you can get involved is just paying attention. And I've watched on Facebook as you guys throw threads up there looking for road conditions or fog or things, especially, and I think that's super helpful as well. I've gone to that many times to have a look at that before I go to work for sure. So yeah, good. All right, so let's get to the two most important questions that we have, and the first most important question is, in your opinion, and because this is my sister and I are probably, Anne, would you say that we're mildly obsessed with this movie?
Oh, this is my number one guilty pleasure.
Okay, Twister, the greatest weather movie ever made, or is it straight trash? Go.
I think it's the greatest.
It's the greatest. Hands
Greatest.
down.
The cultural impacts that this movie had on the weather community, on people our age, is unparalleled, and for that reason, is one of the greatest movies
I will
ever.
second that. Yes. Spot on.
ever.
Yeah, I mean, you could argue with like the meteorology in it and stuff that could happen or not, but in terms of the cultural impact, second to none.
Just the opening scene alone in the farmhouse with it, where Joe's dad buys it. Yeah, pretty much. That's a great scene. So this brings us to our next question. Day After Tomorrow, second greatest weather movie ever made, or straight trash? Go.
I don't have any comment. I have not watched that before.
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Okay, that's
Joel.
two of you. That's two of you that have never
Yeah,
seen
I
this
have.
movie. Okay, so again, Joel, you have homework as well. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, and I have not seen it either.
I've never
So-
seen it either, to be honest with
Am I the
you.
only one that's seen it?
Oh,
happening?
what?
What? Okay, I'll
Panic.
jump in here as somebody that's seen it.
Yeah.
It doesn't compare to Twister in terms of like straight weather at all. But it's a good movie in terms of cinematic, effects and everything like that of what when it was made, at least, of what could potentially happen, down the road.
I
Great.
think it's the only
Julie
other.
Thompson, she hasn't seen it either. Julie, you have homework too. You all have
Coming in
homework.
clutch, Julie. Coming in clutch. Oh yeah.
Well, okay, so and there's another reason you should see it is that it's actually the 20th anniversary of May will be the 20th anniversary of Day After Tomorrow. And it's not as much fun as Twister. It takes itself too seriously, but it's a fun weather movie, and you get to see New York just get destroyed again.
Or New York.
Poor New York. I know they take a beating. Okay, so all right, so yeah, you guys have homework, and I can't remember who it is that hasn't seen Roadhouse yet, but you have homework too. Okay,
With
good.
me.
All right. Nick, homework. Let's go. look at the teacher over here. Homework.
I don't know.
Loving it.
I don't want to be back in school.
This is fun homework.
This is the good homework. This is all right, so we are getting ready to wrap it up here. But before we do, we've got a bunch of more homework for all the viewers and listeners out there. If you are looking to find Michigan Storm Chasers, there's a bunch of places you can find them. Of course, you can find them here. We're broadcasting on Facebook and YouTube. You can find them on Instagram, snail mail. If you're interested in supporting Michigan Storm Chasers, and I'm a big believer that if you're using the content, if you've taken advantage of it in any way, shape, or form, you can donate to them. You can shop for merchandise. You can go to their website. They have a big merch page. You can get a T-shirt. You can get a cup with the Michigan Storm Chasers logo on it, and you should. They have a Patreon. You can become a member on Patreon, which means you're going to get those earlier. It comes right to your inbox in your email. You'll get those earlier forecasts, access to their podcasts, and so forth. And if you want to, more than anything, if you want to subscribe, like, follow. Guys, do you want to contribute to that anymore? As far as how you can be supported?
Well, I was just going to say, I think the best way to do it is just the best way to do it that's free is just giving us a follow and interacting with the content.
Sharing our stuff.
Absolutely.
Helping
Yeah,
make a
sure.
difference by sharing it.
Anytime you see a
Subscribe to
post of us
YouTube.
in your feed, anytime you see a post, hit that thumbs up button. It helps the algorithm out. Lets more people see it, boosts the algorithm for us. So that's the main free way to do it. If you don't want to spend money, is just hitting that like button, commenting, sharing.
Sharing is the biggest one because the more people we can help impact, the more people we can have covered from beginning to end.
Sure.
Perfectly said.
Sharing is caring. Yay. All right. Fantastic. All right. What else we got going on here? Well, we're going to take a second as we're wrapping up our hour here. We just want to say a massive thank you to Michigan Storm Chasers. We just want to thank you for your hard work. And honestly, you guys, one of the things that, and you said it earlier, the thing that's really cool about this, and thank you for being the thing that social media was supposed to be in the first place, this really great network of people sharing ideas and thoughts and sharing their intelligences. And I think you guys are just a really perfect example of doing that. And so we want to offer you guys thank you and just say thank you for coming on the show. We have a lovely tote bag for each of you. That's right. Guests of the Brother Sisters get a free tote bag. That's right.
Right. That's right.
Oh boy.
You can put some hail in it, collect the hailstones.
There you go.
Totally. Yeah, you guys are going to be out chasing and you're like, oh, I wish I had a bag to put my lunch in. And now you'll have that.
Chandler needs the
Have
bag
that.
for his lunch. He's got a
Whoa,
grocery bag for snacks.
Oh,
You know,
man.
my mom got me one of those for Christmas, and
Oh,
I
that's
have
true.
not used it. Sorry, Mom.
Now you have two.
I
Well,
will
now you can use
say,
this one because it's cooler than the one your mom got you. Let's be honest, okay?
if she's watching, oh boy, you're putting me in one heck
You're
of a
gonna get them in
position.
trouble.
Love you, Mom. Yeah. I will say one of the best things about storm chasing, like out on the plains and stuff, is the different food you get to try, because nothing you eat is the same 2 days in a row, and it's so different, so good from every state you go. Always eat local, support the local places. Everything's just fire all the time.
All right.
confirm.
So, okay, now I have to ask, what's the best thing you've eaten on the road?
I'll go first, 100%. So obviously, back in 2020 when COVID happened, our governor shut down all the restaurants and everything. I was a restaurant worker at the time. And so really the only place I had gone out to eat in like 4 months was where I worked, which, okay, great. It's better than cooking at home. But, whatever. It's the same restaurant I always eat in. And my buddy Mitch and I drove down to Wichita, and we had a Jimmy John's sandwich on the way down, which, okay, it's Jimmy John's, great. You can get that anywhere. But we went to a bar in Wichita, and we had these like crab cakes and just like bar food. But it was the first time we had gone out to eat in like 4 months, and there was like spicy shrimp, and we're literally sitting there. He had a beer, I was drinking a Coke, and we're crying because we haven't gone out to eat in 4 months, and it was so good. Everyone's like, what is wrong with these two idiots that look like they haven't slept all day? And we're like, we've been on lockdown. It's just losing our minds. And it was just I couldn't even tell you what we had to eat. It was just so good.
That first meal. Yay. That is because Anna and I are both eaters, and we tend to have everything we talk about usually revolves around, because we have traveled quite a bit together, and it usually revolves our when we talk about the places we've been, it almost always includes what we ate. So we're going to Chicago in March, and basically just revolving around just where we're going to eat when we get to Chicago. So totally get that. We're going to take a quick sneak peek at next week. We got to do our closing stuff here. So our sneak peek of next week. So this tonight's show is going to act as our weekly show. It'll be back. We'll get this out on Spotify. Probably Sunday night or Monday morning. But we are going to go ahead and do the show next week that we were going to do this week. So we're going to have there's no football next week. It's, February. So you might as well take a little time, and, we'll take a look at some of our favorite crappy movies, including the best crappy movie ever, Roadhouse. And there you go. We're going to give you the kind of our list of the best of the worst movies ever. And these are more than just guilty pleasure movies. So there you go. You can support the Brother Sisters for free. Again, you guys, we're looking for our followers as well. You can subscribe, like. We have our website you can check out, Facebook, Spotify, and Instagram. So check us out. Give us a like, ring the bell. And as always, if you don't like us, then tell your enemies, because then there you go. You can tell them we're awesome. Okay, good. But yeah, that's pretty much our show this week. So again, huge thank you to Michigan Storm Chasers for coming on and just sharing your amazing knowledge with us and just taking the times out of your schedule. We know you guys are super busy, so thank you so much.
Yes,
And,
thank you. This is
Thank
a
you.
great show. Thank you so much. I
This
learned
was-
so much.
Yeah,
Thanks for having us on. We'll have to see if we can
And-
get you guys out chasing this year.
totally. I would totally love to do that. I just need a van like Dusty in Twister. So there.
It's the wonder of nature, baby.
Yes. So
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
the line? What's the repo line? The repo man.
Oh, that isn't a planet. That isn't a planet. It's a space station.
It's a space. That's no moon. It's a space station.
All right.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, guys. So we're going to take you out and we're going to do our closing with Ann and I. But again, thank you so much to Michigan Storm Chasers. Cannot thank you enough. And again, we will continue to say that again.
I think it was an echo somewhere.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, I was like,
Cole, Nick, Chandler, Ryan, Alex, thank you very much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Our pleasure.
And we'll be
Thank
seeing
you
you
very
soon.
much.
Thank you.
I'll try and leave.
Okay.
That's good. I got you. All right, Ann Brothers. I think that was a super solid show today. So
Yeah.
well done. And again, everybody, we will see you soon. Again, for those of us that are joining for the first time, we are Ann and Janice Brothers. We are the Brother Sisters. This is Smart Dumb Fun with the Brother Sisters. Join us weekly. And again, you can find us on Spotify. You can find us. Oh, wait, which one? I think I'm going to go with the dance pop music. This
Oh,
is going to be
nice.
our outro music today.
Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook.
Yes, you can also find us at on our website. And anyway, we just want to thank you guys for joining us today. Oh, we got one quick comment before we go. This is from Julie Thompson. She said, "Great show. Looking forward to seeing you." And Julie, we are looking forward to seeing you too. Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
Julie.
everybody. Peace and out.
Bye.